Turn to Proverbs 10:26. Proverbs 10:26, it says, "As vinegar to the teeth and as smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to them that send him." We'll look at that first part. As vinegar to the teeth. So anybody that's ever tasted vinegar knows this, that it's harsh tasting and it's destructive to the teeth. I don't know, some people might not know it's destructive to the teeth, but I think everybody knows it doesn't taste good, right?
Oh, it does. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead, drink some white vinegar right out of the bottle and tell me it tastes good. Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. It tastes better than white vinegar, maybe, but that's not saying much. Vinegar is a liquid consisting of acetic acid. I think that's how you say that, acetic. I don't think it's acidic. It's not acidic. It's acetic.
It's either acetic or acetic.
Acetic. I think it's acetic. I'll go with that. No, you said acidic. Consisting of acetic acid in a dilute form, produced by the acetus, I guess, or acetus, whatever, fermentation of wine and some other alcoholic liquors or special compounds, and employed either pure or with various admixtures in the preparation of food, or as a relish to this, and in the arts. Secondly, in elusive use, it is with reference to the painful or harsh effect of vinegar on a wound or on the teeth, after Proverbs 10:26, which is the verse we're looking at here. Okay, so I think everybody knows what vinegar is. Even if you couldn't have defined it, you know what it is, right? And anybody that's ever drunk it knows that vinegar is not pleasant to drink. In Psalm 69 and verse 21, I'll just give you a verse in case you've never had the pleasure. We can see from the scripture, and then you can spare yourself the pain of drinking vinegar. Psalm 69 and verse 21. It says, "They gave me also gall for my meat." Gall is something that's very sour. Gall for my meat, and bitter, that is, I guess not sour, bitter. And in my thirst they gave me vinegar to drink. And this is actually a prophecy of the Lord Jesus Christ, but obviously vinegar is likened here to gall. It's not a pleasant drink at all. And giving one vinegar to drink is a display of contempt. Now look at Luke 23:36 through 37. Luke 23. You probably know where I'm going here. Luke 23:36 through 37. And saying, this is the soldier, no, let's go, I meant to start in verse 36. "And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him, and offering him vinegar, and saying, If thou be the king of the Jews, save thyself." So this was a display of mocking, contempt, and derision to give him vinegar to drink. And you can just imagine, if you were being crucified, you're hanging on the cross, and you're extremely thirsty, and then somebody gives you vinegar, of all things, to drink. That would be the most horrible thing ever. Vinegar is destructive to the teeth, and I don't know, I had heard this before. My wife told me when she drinks vinegar, she drinks it through a straw. She drinks apple cider vinegar, drink it through a straw so you don't get it on your teeth. But it's bad for your teeth, especially white vinegar. This is an article called "The Effects of Vinegar for Your Teeth." So you get a little health lesson here in Bible study. Like other acidic beverages, vinegar can damage your teeth. Vinegar can weaken, soften, and erode your teeth's enamel. Damaged enamel can result in sensitive teeth and dental decay. This risk is exponentially high for white vinegar, which is the most acidic. So, don't be drinking vinegar straight if you want your teeth to last. Use it to clean your tub or something. It works a lot better for that. You ever use vinegar to clean with? That stuff works pretty well. So it says, "As vinegar to the teeth and as smoke to the eyes." So smoke, in case you were unaware, is the visible volatile product given off by burning or smoldering substances. And smoke in the eyes is painful and a source of irritation. Everybody knows that, right? Everybody stood around a campfire or something and got a big, blast of smoke in your eyes, and it doesn't feel good. It also doesn't feel good in your nose. And this is how God feels whenever he has to endure the wicked. They're like a smoke in his nostrils. Isaiah 65, 3 through 5. Isaiah 65, 3 through 5. The Lord says, "A people that provoketh me to anger continually to my face, that sacrifice in gardens and burneth incense upon altars of brick," this is talking about idolatry, "which remain among the graves and lodge in the monuments, which eat swine's flesh, and broth of abominable things is in their vessels, which say, Stand by thyself, come not near to me, for I am holier than thou. These are a smoke in my nose, a fire that burneth all the day." So when God sees people that are idolatrous sinners who are willfully breaking his commandments, and most especially that are proud, that would say to somebody else, "Don't stand too close to me, I'm holier than thou." You know, the guy that wouldn't, if he went into some church where the high rollers go to church and some poor man tries to sit beside him and he says, no, go sit over there, I'm holier than thou. God hates that. That's like getting a big puff of smoke right in your eyes and right in your nose, and just very irritable. That's what God thinks of that kind of stuff.
Does this apply to his own children as well?
Sure.
His own children,
yeah, I mean, he's talking about his own people here that are eating swine's flesh, and it was never, it wouldn't have been a sin for the Gentiles to eat swine's flesh. That was part of the law of Moses. But so he's talking about, Israel, Jews here.
Thank you.
So it's as vinegar to the teeth and as smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to them that send him. So now you kind of get an idea of what a sluggard is like to somebody who sends him, right? Because we've seen what vinegar does to the teeth, we've seen what smoke does to the eyes, and so we can kind of get an idea of how painful it is to send a sluggard to get something done. A sluggard is one who is naturally or habitually slow, lazy, or idle. One who is disinclined for work or exertion of any kind, a slothful or indolent person. The Apostle Paul called them slow bellies. Remember that when he said about the Cretans? They're always evil beasts. They're always liars, evil beasts, slow bellies, sluggards, and other things as well in their case. Sluggards are lazy and won't do what they need to do or what they are commanded to do. That's why it's a bad idea to send them to do anything, because they won't do it. I'll just give you a few verses here. Proverbs 6 and verse 9. Proverbs 6 and verse 9. Anybody that's ever had a sluggard work for them knows what this verse is talking about. Proverbs 6:9 says, "How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep?" Try getting that guy to do something for you. He just rolls over from one side of the bed to the other, keeps hitting the snooze button, won't get out of bed. Why were you late? Oh, I slept in, couldn't get to work on time, right? That's a sluggard for you. Proverbs 20 and verse 4. Proverbs 20 and verse 4 says, "The sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold, therefore shall he beg and harvest and have nothing." Oh, it's too cold for me to get out there and work. I can't. Oh, it's snowy. Oh, it's icy. He won't plow. I'll get the field plowed. It's cold right now. But when summer gets here, I'll get that thing plowed, and then eventually, come July, he gets the field plowed, and guess what happens? None of the stuff ends up growing to full blossom because he waited so long because he wasn't going to work in the difficult weather. I've got a quote on my computer monitor, which I saw somewhere on the internet. I don't remember who said it, and I don't remember exactly the quote, but it said something like, if you only work when you feel like it, or when you feel well, if you only work when you feel well, you're not going to get much done. If the only time you're going to work is when you feel well, you're always going to not feel quite up to doing whatever you're supposed to do. People that get stuff done just work whether they feel well or not. They just work, period. Just do it. Get it done. Proverbs 21 and verse 25. "The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor." This is why you don't want to send a guy like this. He just flat out will refuse to do what he's supposed to do because he's that lazy. Proverbs 22 and verse 13 says, the slothful man saith, there is a lion without. I shall be slain in the streets. Oh, he's always got some excuse. There's a lion without. It's dangerous out there. Can't go to work because, you think I can go to work in Excelsior Springs? Cops are getting shot. People are being abducted. There's all this danger out there. I can't go to work around here. What could happen? I might get abducted. I might end up in some guy's basement for the rest of my life. Somebody might shoot me in the shoulder just for no reason. It's dangerous out there. They don't plow the roads very well around here. I could wreck my car. I can't go to work. Kidding me? Sluggards won't use the talents that they have been given to do what they could do. It's one thing if the Lord just hasn't given you certain abilities, and you can't fault a man for not being able to do what he's incapable of. If you're a quadriplegic or something, chances are you're probably not going to. There's a lot of jobs you're not going to be able to do. But if you're able and you still don't do it, well, that's called slothfulness. Matthew 25:24 through 27. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. And lo, here thou hast it as thine. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. And then he takes the talent from him and gives it to the guy with the 10 talents. Gives it to the guy that actually put his talents to work. Did something with him. See, this master, he saw right through this guy's excuses and lies. He's like, yeah, you say you didn't do anything with it because I'm a hard man. You knew I'm a hard man. You knew that. So why didn't you at least go put it in the bank and get me some interest or something? You just hid the thing in the earth. Didn't do anything with it. And he calls him out for what he is, thou wicked and slothful servant. It was because you were lazy. You're just making excuses. Because of this, because of their laziness, sluggards or slothful people leave destruction in their wakes. In Proverbs 24:30 through 31, we see the kind of destruction they leave. And it's usually destruction, well, sometimes anyway, destruction that they are the victims of themselves. But oftentimes, too, anybody that a slothful man works for will also suffer destruction. But here's what happens to people that are lazy. They leave destruction in their own place. Proverbs 24:30 through 31, I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding, and lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. And then in Ecclesiastes 10 through 18, we see that their houses also fall down. So not only does their fields and their vineyards get overgrown, and there's nettles all over the place, and thorns, and the stone walls broken down, but their houses themselves fall down too because they're too lazy to maintain them. Home ownership is not for everybody. You got to maintain those things or they fall down. People will find that out. You drive by and you see some of these old houses sitting along a road that's been abandoned, and they just fall down. It's kind of funny because you never notice people maintaining things, but just like see a business move out of a building in a town, and all of a sudden it's just like it just gets overgrown, everything's all broken, and you're like, how did that happen? Because I drive by there every day and I don't see people out there maintaining it and doing things, but somehow the thing stays in good shape. It's just that you're not seeing it is what it is. But as soon as somebody moves out, that place just goes to pot. It's amazing how fast it happens. Ecclesiastes 10 and verse 18, it says, by much slothfulness the building decayeth, and through idleness of the hands the house droppeth through. It's kind of funny, the things that God creates, you leave them sit around, and even if a tree does fall, it rots, and then it goes back into the soil, and then another tree grows in its place, and anything that God makes, it's just self-regulating, and it always looks beautiful. Anything man makes that he doesn't continually keep up, it just looks like garbage in no time. It's just kind of neat to see the difference in God's creation versus man's creation. So, just as vinegar is harsh and destructive to the teeth, and smoke is irritable and painful to the eyes, so is a lazy, slothful man irritating, painful, and destructive to those who send him to do something. We're told in Proverbs 15 and verse 19 that the way of the slothful is as an hedge of thorns. In other words, it's painful to try to get through. You go up to a hedge of thorns and try to work your way through it, and it's going to be painful. Well, you send a sluggard, you start dealing with a slothful man, it's going to be like dealing with a hedge of thorns. Proverbs 15 and verse 19. It says, the way of the slothful man is as an hedge of thorns, but the way of the righteous is made plain. The slothful man's way is difficult and painful, because that's what happens when you're lazy. Then, I don't feel like putting a roof on the house this year. It can probably wait till next year. And next year comes along, well, yeah, I know there's 3 inches of moss growing on the roof, but I don't feel like it. I'll do it next year. And then all of a sudden, drip, 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 and you're like, oh boy. And you go up and look, and all your rafters are rotted out, and now it's a great big job, right? The way of the slothful man is as in hedge of thorns. Now all of a sudden it's a big problem. It's going to cost you a fortune. It's going to be painful. That's the way of the slothful man. And when you have him work for you or you send him to do something, it's going to be painful for you too. We're told if one sends a message by the hand of a fool, which a slothful man would be a fool, he'll end up drinking damage. Proverbs 26 and verse 6. It says, he that sendeth a message by the hand of a fool cutteth off the feet and drinketh damage. So if you send a message by the hand of a fool, it's as if you lopped off his feet, right? He's not going to be able to get very far if he's got no feet, and you're going to drink damage. It's going to be a destructive situation for you. So when a sluggard is sent to do something, he will either not complete the task, or he'll take far longer than is necessary to do so, thus causing damage and frustration to his employer or his master. That's why he's kind of like vinegar to the teeth, smoke to the eyes. He's going to cause trouble and pain and frustration to whoever sends him to do anything. As a matter of fact, sometimes having a slothful man work for you is worse than having no man work for you, and I will talk about that in a second. So just as drinking vinegar to quench thirst would be worse than drinking nothing, so is sending a slothful man or a sluggard to complete a task worse than sending nobody. You can imagine if you're out working on a hot summer's day and you're really thirsty, and if somebody says, well, here's a bottle of vinegar, this will quench your thirst. You just say, no thanks. No, I'd rather die of thirst, thank you. It'd be far worse to drink vinegar than it would be to drink nothing, right? Well, that's the way it is to send a sluggard. You're better off sending nobody. You're better off doing it yourself, or maybe just not doing it at all, just figuring out some other way, because it's going to end up in pain. Now, Christians should not be so. Christians must not be slothful and lazy, but should be diligent in all that we do. In Romans 12 and verse 11. Romans 12 and verse 11. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. And if you remember to keep those things together, not slothful in business, serving the Lord, like it says in Colossians, that whatsoever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not to man, right? Knowing that ye serve the Lord Christ. That'll help you to not be slothful. You realize that you're doing the work for the Lord. As Christians, we ought to bring joy to those who send us, not frustration, irritation, and damage, like the sluggard. We ought to be faithful messengers who refresh our masters. Proverbs 25 and verse 13. This will be the last verse for tonight. Proverbs 25 and verse 13. As the cold of snow in the time of harvest, so is a faithful messenger to them that send him, for he refresheth the soul of his masters. just the opposite of the sluggard to them that send him. He causes them damage and frustration and disappointment and irritation. But the faithful messenger, when you can send him and you know, if I send him to do something, he's going to do it. I'm not going to have to check on him. I'm not going to have to verify it was done. I just know whatever I tell him to do, he's going to do it, and he's going to do it well. He refresheth the soul of his master. That's a big breath of fresh air. You can just a big burden off your shoulders if you have somebody that you can count on to do what you ask or tell them to do. And that's what Christians should be like. People should know that they can count on us to do whatever we have been told to do or that we agree to do.